What's up, everybody? Brothers, sisters, psychonauts, and seekers of truth. It is Ananka, and welcome to my bazaar. Today, I'm going to be reading the Greek story, Other Gods and Goddesses. This version comes from the book Greek Gods and Heroes by Robert Graves. With all that being said, let our story begin. Besides mortals on earth in those ancient days, there were a number of strong, ox-horned river gods, each called after his particular river, and dozens of lovely immortal naiads in charge of fountains and springs, whose permission mortals always asked before drinking, or else it would be the worse for them. These river gods and naiads paid homage to Poseidon, and so did the mermaids, the saltwater nereids. But the hamadryads in charge of oaks, and the meliads in charge of ash trees, and the variously named other nymphs in charge of pines, apple trees, and myrtles, all came under the rule of the country god Pan. If anyone tried to cut down one of these trees without first making a sacrifice to the nymph in charge, usually the sacrifice was a pig, his axe bounced off the trunk and cut his own legs. The great god Pan, a simple fellow, kept out of the Olympians' way, but used to protect shepherds, help hunters to find game, and go dancing in the moonlight with the nymphs. Pan was so ugly at birth that his mother, one of these nymphs, ran away from him in terror. He had little horns, a little beard, the legs, hooves, and tail of a goat. Hermes, his father, took him up to Olympus for Zeus and the other gods to laugh at. Pan loved to sleep every afternoon in a cave or forest grove, and, if a passing stranger woke him by mistake, let out such a horrible yell that the stranger's hair bristled like a hedgehog, in what is still called panic. Pan once fell in love with a nymph called Patis. She was so scared when he tried to kiss her that she turned herself into a pine tree to escape him. Pan broke off one of the pine branches and wore it as a wreath in memory of her. Much the same thing happened when he fell in love with the nymph Syrinx. She escaped from him by changing into a reed. Unable to tell which she was among all the thousands of other reeds growing beside the river, he took a stick and angrily hit at them. Then, feeling ashamed of himself, he collected the broken reeds, cut them into different lengths with a flint knife, bored holes in their sides, and tied them in a neat row to form a new musical instrument called the panpipe. On an April evening in the year AD 1, a ship was sailing to northern Italy along the coast of Greece, when the crew heard distant sounds of mourning, and a loud voice from the shore shouted to one of them, "As soon as you reach the next port, be sure to spread the sad news that the great god Pan is dead." But how and why he had died nobody ever knew. It may of course just been a rumor, put about by Apollo, who always wanted Pan's temples for himself.